Okay, how's everybody doing today? Good, good. Well, I'm going to. You can hide your video if you want. If you want. Um, you already heard this. You heard the same message already. You can't hear it again. Okay. So today is for our seniors our last day, which is great. Congratulations. Should be awesome. Um, I know it can be hard. But and I already said Lily already heard me say this already today. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel again. But I'm terrible at goodbyes. I told Claire this yesterday as well. I'm terrible at goodbyes, um, and I'm very easy to turn to tears if I can. I can force myself to do it, but I'm not going to. Um, but so today's sort of like a transition class for our juniors who are going to be sort of leading everything as we progress forward. Um, and the seniors sort of concluding everything today for all of you. Just telling you things that that you can do as we move through the rest of the trimester, the end of the trimester. So things I just want to reiterate for everyone, but particularly the seniors, because you won't hear me. I might remind you over the course of the last couple of weeks of the trimester. But if you're just missing anything right now, if you're missing any of the assignments, any of the questions, you have time until the end of the trimester to hand it in. Okay, so you have until the 29th, May 29th, to get everything in. All right, so if you are missing anything, missing any of the questions, for to do something, you have until then to get it all in, and you will not be penalized in any way, for lateness, because right now I'm just more so concerned with getting the work done, doing that work, and handing it in. That's what I care about the most right now. Okay, is getting that done. Um, this also goes for the juniors as well. This applies to you too. So if as we get towards the end of the trimester, you still have stuff to do, hand it in. Just hand it in. You will not be penalized in any way for lateness. Just when I get the stuff in. Any questions about that? Okay, cool, awesome. So today I also just want to. I think I said what I wanted to do this class was sort of wrap all the things that we have read up and watched. We sort of did that a lot our last class, talking about the Merceau investigation, wrapping up that book. We didn't talk about in terms of the stranger. We've been doing that work already, but when we watched the film, thankfully we watched the film before we did all this, before we had to leave, so we had an opportunity to see that in class. I think, as I said the other day, this class, even though it's North African literature, has a really focus on Algeria. Um, just a second. So, okay, thanks for the, okay. So we focus on Algeria mainly. We were supposed to do sort of a range of different nations, but we didn't really have that chance, I think, because everything's got kind of shifted around. But what I think is important, and I wanted to emphasize by looking at all those different literatures, all those different stories, is that even though we're thinking about North Africa, the Maghreb as a single thing, we got to remember these are different nations with different histories, but they're interconnected histories at the same time too. Um, so when we think of Algeria and all the things that we've been reading, we think about Algerian literature, um, not necessarily North African literature as something like we can look at those texts like that's North African, yes, but more specifically Algerian. And I think that's important for us to remember and recognize. I think it's also important for us to realize that these are really Algerian stories and that a lot of the stuff we've been reading interconnects the relationship with uh, Algeria and France. And that's a really specific relationship. And that's something we've been talking about and something that has been part of Algeria for many, many years, ever since France colonized and occupied Algeria. It's been part of the conversation. And it's going to be part of the conversation for a long time. These histories don't die, right? We have our nation has our own histories that we continue to grapple with and battle with. And those histories repeatedly come up in stories that we read or stories that we or movies that we watch. Maybe not explicitly, but they can. Um, for like the major sort of American story is one of slavery, right? Our history with slavery and reconciling that history. Um, it's not a process that's ended. It's a process that's continuing. So when we hear these stories, um, and we see like Algerians talking about France and colonization, okay, we get it, but it matters. It matters for that nation. It matters for those people. Um, and so when we think of North African literature as a whole continent, each nation has its own story. Each nation has its own historical history, or historical history, has its own history, has its own historical narrative. Um, they can be interconnected. Those narratives and those nations can be interconnected, but they're also distinct. So with these stories, we're getting a really distinct narrative of Algerian history. Um, we were going to go look at some Egyptian stories too, and one from Libya, but we just didn't have the time, unfortunately. And also just the resources. I don't want to go buy more books and things like that right now. It seems kind of like unwieldy to do all that. So we got one specific nation, three interconnected stories told from one from 1942, one from 19 Battle of Algiers 1950. What was that came out? 1964, 63, and then one from 2018. That's a long period of time. That's a lifetime, but these stories still live on. And that's important to remember when we read these narratives. When we read any story, it's part of a history, it's part of a culture, it's part of a world that has been in existence for a long time. So any literature really can use these ideas. But North African literature and African literature in general is really focused on that stuff right now. That's where they're at in terms of these African writers, what they're writing about, what they're responding to. Okay? So that's sort of like a way to sort of connect all these things together, that we can use them to understand all of them together as one unified, but also conflicting national literature. And a national literature is something that's a bigger thing, but a national literature tells us who we are. It's our story. It's made up of many different stories. We think of American literature, it's a lot of different stories. Native American literature, Asian American literature, African American literature, all these literatures that come together to make an American literary experience. So national literature tells us who we are as a people and where we've come and where we're going to go. So we can apply that here at the same time as well. So that's my little sort of like way to wrap all these things up. Did anybody else have any observations about what we read, anything or watched, anything like any through lines? Okay, I hope that wrapped it up. I hope it was like a nice little bow on everything we've done so far. So we're gonna wrap that up there. Today's gonna be like, it's a transition day, right? It's a different day for all of us. So we're gonna sort of end it there. I wanna tell, so seniors, if you wanna keep on really reading another thing, juniors, congratulations. Good job, good luck for you, or whatever, words. So we're reading one final thing, juniors. It's a shorter piece, just like the other things we've been reading. Short, concise, a little bit different than we have read before, but it's something different. Seniors, if you want to keep reading along with us, you'll have self-access to the classroom. Almost like after today, like I'm done, I'm out of this classroom, no more emails, please stop. But you can have access to it. You can read along if you like. So juniors, that's what we'll be doing. It'll just be us for the time, for the next 3 weeks or so. But we won't be doing like we've been doing all time historical. No essays. Anything we do will be a little question response. It'll be a much smaller class, but we'll go through it. Stuff we've been doing already. Same ideas, and just building on from what we talked about before. Okay. So then, seniors, congratulations! You got to your last English class. Unless you have another, none of you have another English class after this one, I imagine. Yay, you did it, last English class. I just want to say I'm so glad I got to meet and know all of you. I'm so proud of who you've all become. I got to know you for these past 2 years and see how much you've grown for the past 2 years. It's pretty fantastic. And I hope get to see you all in person in some way soon. And that, whatever you do in the future is fulfilling. It's makes you happy. It makes you a better person. So I'm so excited to see where I'll get to go next. All right. And that's all I have right now. Um, okay. That's a wrap. Okay. So juniors, I'll see you next week. Seniors, I hope to see you all soon, like I said, but congratulations. I'm really proud of all of you. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful rest of time or something. I don't know. Okay. Bye, everybody.